On this episode of You Should Be Watching, we talk about why Birds of Prey is a must-watch movie, we talk about our favorite cosmic horror films, and also we answer the question, what is the best horror TV show? All that and more on this episode of You Should Be Watching. Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of You Should Be Watching. I'm joined by some more special guests today from our LA office. I've got Mike and Meg here, and of course, my buddy Ryan, who you've seen before, of course.
Good to have you guys up here.
Yeah, thanks for coming to the SF office.
We love it here.
Yeah, if you guys didn't know, we have different offices. Me and Ryan are based out of San Francisco, which is where you see this set, and they come from the Burbank office. So what's that like?
It's sunny and hot most of the time.
Yeah,
Nice.
we're in the valley, so it's about 10 degrees hotter than the rest of Los Angeles at all points.
It's just warmer, a warmer version of GameSpot. Nice.
We miss you guys when we're not here.
We miss you too. So they've been here with us for a week. We're very sad because this is the last thing we're doing this week together. But for the people that are not familiar or haven't seen your Watchmen videos, please tell them who you are and what you do.
Meg?
I'm Meg Downey. I am an associate entertainment editor at GameSpot, so I do a lot of movie coverage. We did Watchmen together, breaking those episodes down. I also focus predominantly on superheroes and comics, so that's my beat.
I'm Mike Rougeau. I'm the managing editor of the entertainment editorial team. And I kind of do everything. I guess I tend to focus more on horror and sci-fi and, that genre stuff that we love.
All sorts of things. All right, well, I have an important question for both of you. So this is what we asked to all of our new guests. What are 3 shows or movies that describe your personality? Meg, let's start with you.
Okay, so mine's going to sound absolutely ridiculous and whatever, it's fine. Because it's different. It's important to differentiate between your favorite things and the things that define you, right? So mine are Home Movies, the show by Brendan Small, who went on to do like Metalocalypse and whatnot. It's the best. Wet Hot American Summer.
Yes.
The movie. The shows are fine. The movie. And then Hellraiser. It's fine. Whatever. Don't worry about it.
I love this variety. Okay, so we have to dig into these. So tell us why these things explain your personality.
Home Movies and Wet Hot, obviously, because of the sense of humor. And I think that those are the 2 things that I constantly go back to just in my daily life. Like, those have incorporated, those are the gags that I use that people don't realize that I'm doing those gags, which is fine. Whatever. Everyone should watch those shows and movies, though, but whatever.
Home Movies was like early Adult Swim
Early
stuff.
Adult Swim, like Squiggle Vision Adult Swim, like
And
that,
I have
vintage
to say that
Adult
I'm
Swim.
with you on that. I literally have a Brendan Small from Home Movies tattoo.
Oh, wow.
But like that's like the way that those lines were delivered and everything has affected just my speech pattern so much that like the things that I will say and the way that I will like make punchlines or whatever is completely from Home Movies. And same with Wet Hot American Summer.
I love Wet Hot American Summer.
There's no unfunny joke in that entire movie. It's all good. And then Hellraiser, because and that's like a formative horror that like shaped my entire perception of like what horror should be, I think. And like that now defines everything I like about monsters. It defines everything I like about visual effects, like the mythology around it. Like that's what I look for in horror now.
It's terrifying. Can I ask how old you were when you first watched it?
Way too young.
Yes.
Way too young.
I think that's the answer for all of us, right?
I didn't watch it before I was like introduced to the concept of Cenobites. And so like I think it was from like a Spencer's Gifts or something that like I found like one of those like buttons that was just Pinhead and it said like we have such sights to show you or something, and I think it was in like middle school or whatever, and I was like I want this and like put it on my book bag and it was
aesthetic.
like perfect, and my mom was like I don't know what this is, whatever, it's fine. And then it was way too young.
We watched that movie recently and it is messed up.
It holds up. It's messed up.
So good though.
Yeah, it's excellent.
It does hold up.
The first 2 Hellraiser movies are genuinely good movies. Like they are genuinely amazingly done. Like they're so like the practical effects are so cool. Everything about it is
How
good.
many Hellraisers are there?
Like 9.
Wow.
Like 9 or 10. Yeah, there's a lot.
had no idea.
The first 2 are genuine and good. The third is a little dicey. It's the one with you've probably seen, like if you're a horror fan, it's the one with like the Cenobite with like the CDs in his mouth and like it's an artifact of the 90s. I'll say it like that. And then the 4th they go to space eventually, and
They always do.
Adam Scott from like Parks and Rec is in one of them as like a 17th century French man in the space one. It's like a timeline thing.
I love how many of these horror movies end up in space. Like, did Leprechaun go to space?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
right?
100%.
Gremlins? Wait,
Leprechaun went Leprechaun went to the hood and then went to space,
He
right?
definitely went to the
Yeah.
hood.
Yeah.
I
For
remember
sure.
that.
Yeah,
I think he went to space.
definitely.
Yeah.
Jason went to space.
Jason
Yeah,
did.
and Freddy,
Yeah.
for sure, went to space. Yeah, for sure. No, they go to space very early on in the Hellraiser series, which indicates kind of the trajectory of the rest of the franchise, because I think it's 4 that they go to space. And there's
Usually
like 10
around
now.
4.
Yeah, like
They go to space.
ugh.
You guys welcome to Meg's Hellraiser podcast.
Hellraiser. Yeah, no, this is
We're
perfect.
only
It's
talking
totally
about
fine
Hellraiser.
because that's the theme of
Yes.
this episode.
Everyone
is horror.
watch
Yes.
Hellraiser, all of them. You have
right.
to watch all of them.
Mike, 3 movies or TV shows that
Yeah.
explain your personality.
I feel like mine is not maybe as strange of a range as yours are.
Don't worry about it.
I'm gonna go with The Life Aquatic, the
Good one.
Wes Anderson,
Nice.
The Matrix, the first one.
Yep.
I don't know why I even
Excellent.
said that because there's only one.
Yeah.
There's only one.
There's only one Matrix movie, so
They're trying to make
it
a
was
new
weird
one
for me
right
to specify. And The Thing, John Carpenter.
Nice. All right.
Oh, yeah.
Please tell us why.
They didn't go to space; they came from space in The Thing. So
Yes.
it fits though.
Mm.
So start with The Life Aquatic. Why The Life Aquatic? Is this your favorite Wes Anderson film?
It's my favorite Wes Anderson film. It's one of those weird ones because it's divisive among even Wes Anderson fans. Like a lot of people love The Royal Tenenbaums,
Rushmore's my
Rushmore,
yeah.
Grand Budapest, even Darjeeling, but hate The Life Aquatic because I think in a lot of ways it's like the most contrived of all of them. Like from even down to like the stupid like little claymation fishes, like the crayon pony fish and stuff, where the effects change from like shot to shot. Like there's like inconsistencies, but it makes it like enhances like that weird bespoke like diorama aesthetic that he does so well. And I don't know, it just caught my imagination. Like when I was a kid, I wanted to be a marine biologist, and I've always been fascinated by the
That's so
ocean.
cute.
That is really cute. Yeah.
Oh, glad.
Who do you
I'm
think
glad.
had the best performance in that film? There are a lot of really solid ones there.
Oh man.
Or your favorite, rather.
I mean, I love Bill. He's one of my guys. I'm gonna butcher his name, but Sue Jorge. The guy who did all the Bowie
music?
covers. Yeah, like that
Those
to
are
me,
good covers.
like Wes Anderson always uses music pretty incredibly in his films, but like to have those covers like be God, what's it called? Diegetic.
Yeah, diegetic is when it's part
sound.
of the sound. Yeah, part of
Exactly.
the-
Yeah. Like the use of the diegetic music, where for scene transitions, you know, the plane flying overhead, and then he's like sitting on top of like a buoy in the ocean, like playing the acoustic guitar and just
So good.
crooning Bowie songs in Portuguese. Like I love that.
Okay. And the other 2 films.
Yeah, so John Carpenter's The Thing, I think, is definitely my favorite horror film of all time. I think one of the best horror films ever made.
Agreed.
One of the best films ever made. And I've watched it. I could not tell you how many times. I can watch it every day of the week and never get sick of it. There's so much to see and unpack in that movie. I can have a different interpretation of the ending or, you know, who's a thing and who isn't. Like I'll notice a different weird little quirk of the effects every time. Like, and the influence that it's had on horror movies ever since then is like, you know, we're gonna talk later about a movie that I'll bring it back to the thing.
Strong
later.
influence on the film The Faculty. I just wanted to bring up The Faculty again. Sorry.
Hell yeah. I watched The Faculty last year on your recommendation.
Yes!
And
It's
I
awesome.
gotta say that movie slaps.
It's so
I've
good.
never seen it, but I've only ever
Oh,
heard
you
it.
have to watch it. You have
Like
to
you want
watch
to
it.
talk about
I'm the
things that were a
faculty
product
evangelist
of,
here. Yeah.
things that were a product of the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, it's
man.
you need to watch
Okay.
it. It's great. It's fantastic. I could talk about it almost every episode.
Things that were a product
Chastity
of,
talks about it
Yeah.
quite a bit.
I talk about it a lot. Yeah.
things that were a product of the 90s brings us back to the third one, which is The Matrix, which I saw when I was 11 years old, and I had no idea what the hell was happening. Like I literally didn't understand it, but my buddy had a VHS, and so we just watched it like every night for like 2 weeks straight.
Yeah.
Trying to figure like what the world is maybe I was a dumb kid, but like
No, it's just such a great concept. Yeah.
I think initially it stumped a lot of people, but visually it just drew you in that you're like, I've never seen anything like this.
the idea that we live in a computer simulation is, I think, like more familiar now.
Yeah.
But at the time, it just blew my mind. And then like a lot of my sense of like what I think is cool came from basically Carrie Ann Moss and Keanu in that movie.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Shiny.
Especially like
transparent.
as a kid, like coming as a kid who was like obsessed with like hackers.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then like going to the Matrix and you're like, this is like hackers leveled up. Oh my God. Yeah. No, like, like 12, 13. Oh my, formative shit.
So
Yeah,
good.
it's just the action, the sense of style in that movie. I think it's like one of the best like self-contained sci-fi movies from beginning to end. It just like drips this like style and just the sense of like discovering something mind-blowing, and then that discovery is like treated with this weight in that movie where like Neo wakes up and he's like, my whole life has been a lie, and like everybody like it's just such a fun rabbit hole to go down. And then I just pretend that the Matrix 2 and 3 don't exist.
Yeah, with that in mind, what are your hopes for 4 since you love Matrix?
I hope it gets
1?
canceled.
Don't say that.
Mid-production.
No, when it got announced, I wrote like people got mad at me, but I said
Mike's
no,
protesting outside the filming of 4
Yeah.
in San Francisco.
yeah, that's why we're here.
Where
actually.
have you
You're here, to shut it down.
No, yeah, they're shooting it
They're
like
shooting it.
half a mile
Yeah.
from here.
We're here to shut it down.
No, I wrote when it got announced, like I don't want this to happen. Like I don't care. Keanu and Carrie Ann are back, and Lana Wachowski is back, and I don't care. Like they'll never recapture what was great about the original. I don't think. And if I'm, I go into everything with an open mind.
Sure.
This is our job, is to evaluate things, not based on, the bias that I have as somebody who
I would
hates 2
love
out
for
of
it to
3
surprise me,
Matrix
or
movies.
kind of like take a step back and be like, just kidding, 2 and 3 didn't count. They were already in a Matrix
What
or
if it pulls
something.
like what if it pulls like a Fury Road where like everyone is expecting it to be garbage, and then all of a sudden it's like the best movie ever made?
Yeah, I
That's a
want to
good
be.
point.
I want to be
Yeah.
'Cause Fury Road
optimistic.
changed
Like,
everything.
How
You're
crazy
like,
would that be?
exactly.
And I,
one of the best
and I said the
movies of
same
the last
thing
decade.
about Blade Runner 2049.
Yeah.
Even though I love Denis, the director, I love his movies. Prior to that, I definitely said like, who needs a
no one
sequel
wants
to
this.
Blade Runner?
Yeah.
That's fair.
And that's
And
like
now it's amazing.
maybe my favorite movie of the last decade. So
Wow.
who
It's
knows?
a product of nowadays, right? We
Keep
have to sit
that
through
optimism.
remakes and reboots and all
I would
that
like
stuff.
them to go I liked Terminator Dark Fate. I understand many of the criticisms, and a lot of
Go
people
ahead,
didn't.
Ryan. How did you feel
Yeah,
about
Sounds like
Terminator?
it. Guys, there's only 2 good Terminator movies. Terminator and T2.
Right, exactly.
That's it. There's nothing else good.
But that's my
Just
my
stop
point.
making them.
That's my point, though, is that with Dark Fate, it's hardly even a retcon. It's like they just pretend the other ones don't exist. If the Matrix 4 does that, but I don't think it will. They're calling it the Matrix 4.
Right.
If
Is
they
that
wanted,
the title?
I think
As
it's
of right
just-
now,
Okay.
I think it's
it
called
is, yeah.
Project
Yeah.
Ice Cream.
Yeah,
Project
that's
Ice
the
Yeah.
well, then maybe I guess we
code
don't
title.
if we don't know the title. Then
Yeah.
then maybe that is
Matrix.
fingers crossed.
Matrix something. Yeah.
Matrix Salvation.
Matrix.
Project
There
Ice
you go.
Cream.
Matrix retcon.
Yeah.
All right, let's go into our next segment. What's on your TV? Or it could be anything that you're watching right now. Ryan, let's start with you. What are you watching right now?
TV wise, I've been watching The Outsider on HBO. It's been a fun one.
Oh boy.
I haven't watched it yet. Are you guys all watching? Mm-hmm. Okay.
I'm
go
a
ahead.
couple episodes behind, but yeah.
Okay. So without too many spoilers, since I haven't seen it, or maybe some of our viewers haven't, like, explain what it is, and explain what you love about it.
Yeah, it's dealing with grief and loss in a small town. I think they're somewhere in Georgia, right? I believe so. And then there's some supernatural elements, obviously adapted from Stephen King. I don't find myself watching a whole lot of Stephen King adaptations, but the cast that they have assembled here is like incredible. Everyone's like so perfectly cast, and it's kind of a slow burn, but I'm thoroughly enjoying it. And kind of just, I hope it's more than just we beat evil at the end or whatever ends up happening.
Are you caught up?
I'm all caught up. So I've enjoyed it. It's. I feel like, you'll always find something on HBO to kind of hold over till the next thing. Watchmen was obviously incredible, one of the best shows of the year. And then this has kind of been not quite as good, but it's been a good watch for.
It's definitely a January watch.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. It's something to kind of hold you over for the next thing, and then. In my double feature is then Curb Your Enthusiasm, immediately after that, which is just incredible. It changes the mood completely.
The duality of
Cleanse the
man.
palate.
Love it.
I mean, Curb Your Enthusiasm is one of my favorite. Okay, I didn't watch Seinfeld like when I was
didn't either,
younger.
yeah.
I was not a Seinfeld fan,
Are
but
you a
like
Seinfeld fan now?
But you
I've
love,
never-
but you love Curb. Yeah.
I've never went back to watch it. Like I didn't
It's
do
one
it.
of the greatest.
I know. I trust you. I
Okay.
believe you. I
I
believe
feel
you.
like you would enjoy it more as an adult, actually, because like
I
as a
think so,
kid, I was
too.
like, I don't care about
Oh,
this,
yeah,
but like as I got older,
Yeah.
then I watched it in syndication, and I liked it a lot
Yeah,
more.
and I've watched every season of Curb, and it's just, I mean, like it's just ridiculously funny. Some of the earlier ones were a lot better, but this season's great, so I'm enjoying that. In terms of movies, I just watched Honey Boy.
Oh,
I haven't seen it. Yeah,
I was blown away.
that's the
Popped up in my
Shia LaBeouf
Amazon
movie,
Prime.
right?
I was like, this is incredible. Shia LaBeouf, like
What's it
he
about?
wrote it. It's based on his own life story.
Semi-autobiographical.
Semi-autobiographical. I mean, seeing like the early shots of him in the action movies like Transformers, the no, and then seeing that all the way to kind of reconciling with his dad and everything they went through. I
he
mean,
plays
it was
his dad in it too.
He plays his own father.
he plays it, yeah. I mean, I can only imagine how cathartic and it would be for him to play his own father and come to the grips of what their relationship was. And I believe like he didn't talk to his dad for like 7-8 years.
It was something
before
wild like that, yeah.
before they made the movie, and so he basically said, "Hey, I'm going to make a movie about you." I just thought it was amazingly well done. Lucas Hedges, another awesome actor who plays him as he's older and like a old Shia, I guess. Yeah, really, really well done movie.
This movie changed my opinion about Shia LaBeouf.
100%.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I've hated him ever since Crystal Skull
Mm.
because I hate that movie.
That
yeah.
That time where he just played everyone's son.
Yeah, he was
it
just every
I mean,
action franchise.
clearly like really troubled and like but like at a certain point like accepted where he came from, where his dad came from, like everything they went through, and they worked through it, and I was just like deeply moved by how well it was and how honest it was as well. It wasn't sugarcoated at all.
Got to talk about the double feature of that with Peanut Butter Falcon last year too, because that was another Shia movie that was phenomenal.
I still need to watch that
I watched
one,
both of those back to back, like at the end of last year when we were talking about like 2019 movies.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna watch, you gotta watch it.
Okay. On my list, adding that.
Awesome.
I mean, you guys already did a video for this about Birds of Prey. I wanted to talk about Birds of Prey, but I also just wanted us all to talk about it and just acknowledge that it's good. Like, you should watch it. Not enough people are watching this movie,
It's
and it makes
awesome.
me upset.
Yeah.
I hate the conversation around this movie because it's as if the movie doing poorly like proves
It doesn't prove anything.
something. It doesn't
No.
prove anything.
There was that
because it's
tweet
great.
going around where like someone looked at the Birds of Prey like box office take and the budget versus the Ford versus Ferrari box office take and the budget, and Birds of Prey did better like versus its own budget, and it's being called a failure. And the same conversation around Ford versus Ferrari is like a stunning success. It's like,
Come
oh,
on.
but it made $30,000 less. Like, wait a minute.
The vocal minorities who drive these conversations
Yeah, it's wild.
on Twitter can be pretty toxic. But let's talk about the movie because we all love
the movie's
It's
great. Yeah,
so much
Let's just talk about the
fun.
movie.
I still need to see it, guys.
It's
Sorry.
so much
I'm gonna
fun.
watch it this week. I think.
go.
Yeah.
I'm gonna watch it. Hey, disclaimer. Mike loved Justice League, guys.
God.
You knew it had to come up.
It was gonna come up.
Listen, I really love this movie.
Wait, maybe you didn't love it. You said
I
it's
loved
a
it.
good movie.
Let's
Let
talk
me-
about
let me
this
back you up.
for a
You didn't say
second.
you loved it.
Go
You
ahead.
said it was a good
because
movie.
This comes
Justice
up.
League is good. Insert that clip right here.
We're in person here. All right, we're all in the same room, so we can hash it out as we have many
Please.
times over
Yes.
Slack and
Yeah.
various other platforms. But let's talk about context. Let's put that in a moment
good point.
in time,
This
if
is a
you
good
will,
point.
where we were fresh off of the original Suicide Squad and Batman versus Superman, which were both
Terrible.
steaming piles of garbage.
Yes.
Two movies that no
Agreed.
one should ever watch.
And Justice League had a troubled development, which usually is a bad sign for a movie like this. And obviously they brought in Joss to fix it. And the final movie became this weird hodgepodge of Snyder darkness and Whedon MCU humor. And it was not nearly as bad as it could have been.
Yeah.
And so I came out of that experience just thinking, wow, that was like way more enjoyable than any previous DCEU movie has ever been. And now we're in the weeds on this.
Yeah.
But what I said at the time was, it's good. It's good, okay? And it's gone down in history as
There
my
it is.
You like the
Justice
lasso.
League.
You like the
There it
lasso
is.
scene. I get it.
Oh man, when he sits
Yeah.
on the lasso,
That's
so funny.
That's my
dude.
favorite scene as well. That's my
so
favorite scene
funny.
as well.
That's hilarious.
Okay. Anyways, back to Birds of Prey. My bad.
I did like Ezra Miller. I think
Ezra Miller
Yeah,
is
I
great.
agree.
Momoa?
I'd like to see more Ezra Miller.
I'm all about Momoa. Yeah.
Yeah.
He admits
One of these days.
That
He
Momoa
admits
was
it.
good. Yeah,
Yeah.
Momoa was good.
He's great. Yeah.
Ryan loved Justice League. You guys heard it.
Talking about changing the narrative.
That's embarrassing, man.
Back to Birds of Prey.
Yes, please.
So a few friends had seen a lot of us kind of react positively, and they're just like, I was never planning on watching this movie. Do you think I would like it? Why? What is this? Like, what is this movie? And so without like talking about comic book movies and things like that, I was like, hey, did you liked John Wick 3? Imagine if John Wick 3 was about Harley Quinn. She keeps getting attacked, like that same level of choreography, that same level of fights in a movie, but like throw that through like this crazy glitter filter with all the things
Glitter
that
and cocaine filter.
basically, and that's Birds of Prey, and most of it is a Harley Quinn movie, but it's
brought
fantastic.
in. I'm blanking on the name, but they brought in like the stunt.
Yeah,
or
the stunt
action choreographer
coordinator, from John Wick actually worked on Birds of Prey, and it
Makes
you can
complete
tell-
sense.
Yeah, so,
Makes complete
so that
sense.
line is literally direct. Like,
Yeah.
they are comparable. And they are comparable. I mean, like, if John Wick had an action scene where Keanu was on rollerblades, I would expect it to go exactly the same as that scene in Birds of Prey.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah, wow. No, you're right.
It's just so much like compared to every other DC movie that's happened, it's had the clearest like personal voice versus like because the rest of them, like the DCU has kind of a house style and like we've seen some deviation from that, right?
Shazam.
Shazam deviated a little bit and like Wonder Woman also deviated a little bit, but like this has had the clearest sense of like aesthetic sensibility and just its own idea of what it wants to be, which I think is just it's bodes so well for the future of the DCEU, which is wild.
Is
Margot
this your
Robbie was
favorite
great.
DCEU? What do you guys think?
Yeah, like post 2013.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Right, from Man of Steel onward. Like,
Yes.
we don't. I tweeted this after we got out of the movie,
2013 and on.
I tweeted it was my favorite modern DC movie, by which I meant, it's a tweet. You can't fit that much in it.
Post
And-
Nolan,
and-
basically.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, post Nolan, and also not counting Joker, which is like its
Not a
own
DCEU
thing.
movie,
It's
yeah.
It's not the same universe.
Like
right?
DCEU was never the
The official term.
official term. Yeah, so I don't like to use it. But like
You have to sometimes.
I should have, because
Yeah.
people, oh, what about Joker? Yeah, I like Joker. Okay, I like Joker too.
It's
but
not the same universe,
it's not
right?
the same thing
Yeah.
at all. They're not even. They're not even
They're
the
not
same
connected.
planet.
Yeah, because that's not the Joker that she dated. Obviously,
Right,
no.
no.
Who thinks that? Yeah, people are like, does
People
Jared or
just really
Joaquin
like-
appear in this movie? Like, what about neither? How about that?
But yes, you should see it. All right, Mike, how about you? What are you watching?
I've been watching Sex Education season 2.
Yes,
Just finished
me
it too.
too.
Just
I haven't
finished.
Oh, you
watched
just
any
finished
of
it?
it.
My wife was like way into it. She
Yeah.
binge watched it without me. I was telling you about this, and then I went back and tried to catch up, but she was already done. But I thought it was hysterical. I thought
It's
it was
so
really well
funny.
done. And Gillian Anderson is amazing.
She's so incredible.
so good.
so badass in
That
this.
whole cast is really
Yeah,
impressive. I
it's
think
not easy to
all
cast some
them
of the
are good.
younger, teenagers and young adults, and they all kick ass.
I like
a lot
that
of range.
they all seem like teenagers too. Like, it's
Yeah.
not
Yes.
it's not that like bad TV syndrome of like
28-year-old playing a 16-year-old.
Yeah, people who clearly like should be working at the DMV or something. Like,
Saved by the Bell Dawson's Creek syndrome. Yeah, absolutely.
but yeah, my wife and I have been watching it as well, and it's really hard for a variety of reasons for us to watch TV at the same time, because in this job, like, we have to binge things. Like, we have to usually get through things as quickly as possible, and that often means taking a Netflix show like Sex Education and just watching it all at once in one long marathon sitting in the middle of a weekday, and
Sure.
that makes it hard to have like binge and chill time with your partner. But this is one, because we haven't been covering it for the site, it's kind of outside of the normal GameSpot wheelhouse. It's not genre or sci-fi or superhero or anything, that we're just watching for fun. And so we get to take it slow and just watch one episode at a time and really enjoy it, which is a rare treat. And it just constantly amazes me, like, how well done every aspect of this show is. You mentioned the casting, the writing, the music. It's so well edited and so
Also,
well
like,
shot.
From the clothes they're wearing, you can't tell what year it is until you see like the technology that they use, like the cell phones and stuff. But like, I'm like, why are they dressed like they're constantly in like 1987? Like, but I love it. I think
It's very
It's 'cause they're
universal.
cool.
they are very cool.
Yeah,
They
it's
are
very
cool.
universal
Yeah.
feeling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It doesn't just feel like the British. If they're British characters, it still kind of feels very like American high school students would kind of be able to feel like something familiar with this.
I think
show
that's
as well.
because they skirt a lot of the typical tropes and
Yeah.
cliches.
There's a lot of
Like,
tropes.
even in the setup for the first few episodes of season 2, it's like, okay, so they're like doing 2 different love triangle things, but then like that gets just kind of neatly side skirted and it winds up doing something much more interesting.
Yeah.
Really good. All right, Meg, what are you watching?
Oh boy, like, we're gonna go from me being the only one who has not watched the thing to me being the only one watching the thing.
That's what this show's for.
Yeah, no, I'm currently watching Haikyuu season 4, which is the 4th season of the sports anime Haikyuu, which is about volleyball. It's the best. It's so good. It's so much fun. It has been on hiatus between season 3 and season 4 since like 2016.
Yeah,
So
it was
this
a
is
long time. It was like
a long time
4
coming.
years.
Yeah, it's a long time coming. So it's been really, really exciting to be back. Like I've since caught up with the manga and like had these characters around, but I have not, got to hear them or have like the theme songs or anything. And, there's something fun about watching sports anime versus reading it because it's like very kinetic and they changed the animation style for some of the characters. And it's just been a blast.
Was it worth the 4-year wait?
It's yes. Yeah. No, I would say like, I mean, we're only like 6 episodes in as of recording this. So like, it's kind of hard to tell. And I should also caveat this by saying it's arguably my least favorite arc of the manga that's being converted into the anime right now. So there's not the same energy. So it's like, it's kind of like the jury's still out, but I missed everybody. And so like, it's fun. Like I'm just enjoying it.
Like
I'm
getting
enjoying
back together with old friends.
Yeah.
You play
Yeah.
volleyball?
Yes, it's volleyball.
Can I ask you how it compares to the one sports anime that I have watched, which is Yuri on Ice?
See,
I love Yuri on Ice.
See, I actually haven't watched
Let's
Yuri on
talk about
Ice.
Yuri on
You haven't
Ice.
watched
I
Yuri?
haven't watched Yuri.
Oh,
on
Mike,
Ice.
let's talk
boy.
about
I was-
Yuri on Ice.
I was very
Are they gonna do it or not?
Yeah, they are.
I was very anti-sports anime until Haikyuu.
But you're pro gay anime,
I am pro-gay anime.
which is
Yuri
what
on
Yuri
Ice
on Ice
is-
yeah,
is.
no, I know. I like.
Amazing.
I just like for a while, like I was very anti-sports anime. Like it didn't really even matter what it was. I just was like, I don't care about sports.
I mean,
I don't
I'm-
care about figure skating, which is why I was like, it took me so long to get into Haikyuu because I was like, I don't care about volleyball.
I'm with you on that, and you know that. So do you think
Yeah.
that I would enjoy this volleyball?
Probably
Show?
not, because you're a very cynical person, and Haikyuu is all about hope and overcoming like your own person. It's so optimistic.
No, because this is about hope.
Yeah, I do.
Even though like this,
Yeah,
it's about hope.
It's about hope, and
You would hate it.
You're
Someone write that
friends with
down.
your teammates.
I do hate hope,
You do. You hate hope, and you
and
hate fun,
I
and
don't
that's
feel like
what Haikyuu's all
anyone
about.
should ever try
Okay,
to overcome
so
any.
You're
anything,
the
so.
last person I would expect to bond about Yuri on Ice with. Please tell me what you love. I get why
Wait,
I
did you
like
like
Yuri on
Yuri on
Ice.
Ice?
Yeah, I love Yuri.
Okay, then
So
fine.
kidding me?
Yeah, I get why I like Yuri on Ice. But why do I love, I love ice skating and I love boy love. Why do
Oh.
you love Yuri on Ice? Please tell me.
Yes, Mike.
I don't like ice skating.
Ice skating's great, but go ahead.
I
Continue.
don't understand it.
No, I don't either.
They do flips and
It's all very
they got
dangerous.
like
It's
a
really
million
dangerous, really
names.
hard.
Yes.
They have like a lot of different names for the tricks, but they all look exactly the same.
That's true, but it looks so hard and is very hard to do.
I'm sure it's hard.
Yeah.
A lot
Very
of things
hard
are
to
hard to
do.
do, and that doesn't necessarily make them worth doing.
Yeah, but it's so pretty to watch. But
How's
continue.
How's that for
But-
cynicism?
But tell me what you like. I need to know what you. So then, if you don't like ice skating, why do you like an ice skating
I
anime?
like a good romance.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So I mean, ostensibly,
He hates
Haikyuu
hope,
is about
loves
the romance
romance.
between 8 different boys
That's-
on a team.
Not what romance is.
I mean, isn't it though?
Romance is whatever you want it to be.
Sometimes a romance can be an entire volleyball team. Just saying.
Can I get that crocheted on?
I mean, honestly, I'm sold.
Okay, great. It's about 8,
I-
sometimes more than 8 high school kids coming together in the love in their hearts to beat the their rivals. On
Do
the
I
court.
need to watch the first 3 seasons?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great.
All
I
right.
have plenty of time to do that.
Great.
So.
Wow, I love how we've derailed into sports anime, but it's fantastic. I love it. let's go into our next segment where we talk about cosmic horror. So we're talking about cosmic horror. This is something that you both have in common that you enjoy. I asked them to pick a genre that they enjoy.
These two chose it?
So look at them. Of course they pick cosmic horror.
Love it.
All right, so tell us why you love cosmic horror, and then tell us something recent or that you watched or something that you love in the genre of cosmic horror.
We were trying to figure out something that we could both speak to equally, and this is, we have some divergent interests and we have some shared interests as far as genre and format. And this is one where we tend to...
Yeah, we're pretty aligned on this one.
Definitely, yeah. And I was trying to think of things that I saw recently that I didn't get to talk about enough, and one of those things is Color Out of Space. The Richard Stanley's first movie in like 27 years, Nick Cage being insane, and a Lovecraft adaptation, which is like check for me.
What's the plot?
So it is an adaptation of one of those old Lovecraft stories from 100 years ago, and basically a meteor hits a farm, and then weird stuff starts happening, and everybody goes insane, and there's body horror, and there's, this is, I said we were going to go back to The Thing. There is practical effects that,
nice.
Pay homage to and rival those in the Thing. Have we all seen The Thing? Have you seen The Thing?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, of course.
The dogs, the dog, there's no way to describe it.
Can't unsee those.
No.
Yeah.
Picture that, but with llamas.
Oh no.
boy.
Nick Cage with a shotgun.
Great.
Okay, I need to watch this immediately.
Me too.
I need to watch
Yeah,
this.
dude.
What level of Nick Cage are we getting Nick Cage in this movie?
I mean, it's a movie about a bunch of people trapped on an isolated farm who slowly go insane because of the influence of an alien color that seeps into the water and air.
Ooh.
And it concludes with like a 20-minute miasma of violence. So, draw from that whatever conclusions you want.
I'll be honest, I don't seek out a lot of cosmic horror, but that sounds like something I'd watch immediately.
I would watch
I'm going to look for that.
It's
You
bonkers.
had me at practical effects and Nick Cage.
Totally.
I mean, did you guys see Mandy last year?
Yes.
Was
That
that last
bathroom
year?
scene.
I didn't
Was
know.
that last year or the year before?
The year before, I think.
Well, if you like Mandy, you'll probably like Color Out of Space.
Okay. Sold.
Can't guarantee it, but Mandy, that's another, maybe
That's
not cosmic horror, but that's
I'd call it
definitely-
cosmic. I mean,
it's another Mike
yeah,
movie.
for sure.
There's lots of shots of the sky and stuff.
I would call it. Yeah.
Meg, why do you love cosmic horror?
I think this also goes back to Hellraiser and the idea that
Yep.
there is a threat that is, kind of a personified character that is not like a human being with a gun or someone that's just going to kind of run around and hurt people. I love this idea that there are forces out there that have their own driving will, or sometimes total lack of will, or will that we can understand, that still can be called characters. I love that. That's why I like the Lovecraft mythos. That's why I like Hellraiser. That's why I like Annihilation. Any of those big high concept things that can kind of be boiled down into these, very intimate settings of, people kind of struggling against.
And there's something so
monsters
terrifying
and-
about the unknown.
Yeah, exactly. It's it's taking the unknown and putting it into a vaguely humanoid shape most of the time.
Yeah, like beings who are clearly sentient, but whose will is so alien that we can't.
Right, and
good villains in horror movies is sometimes you can understand their motivations, and sometimes you can't. And this cosmic horror takes that to the extreme.
Right, and it's also that they're bound by some sort of usually they're bound by rules of some sort. There may not be rules that we have in actual reality or whatever, but they're not ghosts. They're not going to just kind of dissipate, or you can't exercise them or whatever.
Right, it's different from typical supernatural.
Right, exactly.
Horror. Have you read a lot of Lovecraft?
I did in college and in high school, and I'm not actually I like the concept that Lovecraft raises a lot, but I don't like a lot of the actual work.
It can be hit or miss, and it's kind of hard to read a lot of Lovecraft because so much of it is so dependent on his extreme racism.
Yeah.
Even people go oh well, it was 1910 or whatever.
Right.
No, he was racist even
he was,
back then. He fully bought into it. And a lot of his stories have to do with fish people coming out of out of the ocean and
Right.
and mating with good
to corrupt our bloodlines.
Mating with good
Xenophobic.
white folks and mixing races, and it's
Yeah.
like, well, that's hard to read. But then there's like At the Mountains of Madness, which has nothing to do with any of that.
Right, exactly,
And is a ridiculously captivating 80-page novella that I've read 10 times.
Right.
And can't get enough of.
Right.
This was the one that Peter Jackson was gonna.
It was Del Toro.
Oh,
Guillermo.
Del Toro. Yeah, Guillermo.
Yeah, which
Benicio.
to see Guillermo del Toro's take on At the Mountains of Madness is still something I hope I get to do before I die.
Yeah.
Because that would it would be incredible. I mean, that's one of my favorite stories.
I think
ever.
that's the key of like Lovecraft for me now, like as a person in 2020, the idea that you have to take these ideas that came from somebody whose values I do not share at all from 1910 and then put them in the hands of someone like Del Toro and give them to someone who can strip out the things that are, that we don't want to talk about and like that are gross and pull out all of the like the really cool concepts that are there and turn them into something cool.
Being a cosmic horror fan is complicated.
Yeah, it's extremely complicated. But you said that was something that Color Out of Space did really well.
Yes. Oh my God.
As an adaptation.
I don't want to spoil what happens in the adaptation of Color Out of Space, but it's from a different perspective than the written the original story is from. And one of the characters is black, which I feel like Lovecraft would be rolling in his grave.
Yep.
Which makes me happy.
Yeah, exactly.
I have a love-hate relationship with Lovecraft.
Clearly.
Yeah. That's the thing that,
But it does an excellent job of taking what is so great and original about Lovecraft and modernizing it in a way.
Mm-hmm. That's the one thing that I've been, like the cosmic horror thing that I've been really into very recently. I just discovered this podcast that's called Old Gods of Appalachia. And it's like a narrative anthology that is borrowing concepts of Lovecraftian mythology set in like 1910, like the Appalachian Mountains, and it's done by this really amazing narrator, but like the entire concept is like modernized almost. Like it's weird to say that a story set in 1910 is modernized, but like in the sense that like the intro chapter features like a lesbian couple, and then like the next story is all about like people of color in the mountains or whatever, and it's like that's cool. Like this is the story, these are the stories that I want from this mythology, which is amazing. I think it's just it's so well done. Go listen to that podcast.
There's like a musical element too.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, it's so good.
Really?
It's
Nice.
like it's so well produced, and like the episodes are like 20 minutes long, like 10 to 20 minutes long.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Digestible content right there.
Fantastic.
So you mentioned Annihilation. I really love that movie. Can you talk more about why you love that film and
my God.
what works and why it makes it a good cosmic horror film?
I love Annihilation so much. I have the bear tattooed on my leg. I went and got I was
This
like
is a recent
yeah
addition.
yeah
to
it was
that
what
movie
was
didn't
this?
come.
When- yeah, when
it
did
didn't
you-
come out that long ago.
it was not that long ago because like this is a point that Mike and I diverge on a lot because Annihilation is based on a book. I don't like the book at all. I like parts of the book.
How deep do you want to go on?
I know. Like
The book was a trilogy of books.
Yes,
It's
the book is a
still-
trilogy.
yeah,
So
it's a
the
trilogy.
movie is based on the Jeff Vandermeer book of the same name,
right.
but
A lot of differences though. right?
Huge,
Yeah.
like almost not the same thing.
Garland had not read, I
Right.
believe,
he didn't read
Alex
this.
Garland had not read book 2 and 3 yet.
Right.
Yes.
And just decided to make
End
the
it his
movie
way.
just
Yeah.
based on the first book, and it has a different ending.
Yeah.
It's like a totally like there's like the big concepts of the book are changed and whatnot, but regardless,
Thematically,
yeah,
it's I would say it's very different.
yeah, 100%. But
I prefer the book.
I know you do, and yeah, no,
I love all
well,
3 of those books.
It's fine. But I think Annihilation just as a whole, it works so well because it visually represents all of the things that are kind of, like cosmic horror is based on things that are like unknowable, right? Like that's one of the big cruxes and that's one of the big challenges to adapt cosmic horror stories is the fact that a lot of the, monsters are described as like gelatinous shapes with like it's like this thing that you can't look directly at it because it looks like a shadow or whatever, and it's like like
How many eyeballs can I look at one time
Right,
before
and,
my
like,
mind crumbles?
Exactly. And like I think that in the past cosmic horror has kind of fallen into a pitfall where we all have this idea of what like Cthulhu is supposed to look like just based on like the zeitgeist around Cthulhu, right? And like that is kind of the fallback. It's like, oh, we'll just show like a writhing pit of tentacles.
Yeah, it'll
or
be
whatever.
tentacles. There's
Yeah,
gonna be
and
a
it's
lot
like,
of tentacles,
it's
maybe a
gonna
couple
just-
wings.
Yeah, exactly. And like that's cosmic horror, and like I don't like that at all. And it's like I think Annihilation really succeeds in the fact that it doesn't actually have like a main antagonist monster or whatever. It has these creatures that have been affected by this antagonist monster, and like the bear or the big alligator or even just like the weird deer that kind of run around, and they're all things that I mean, that's a bear, that's an alligator, it's a deer, but it's been so warped and consumed by this unknowable concept, and it's represented in such a cool visual way by like, oh, there's like the dead half of it is one thing and the alive half of it is another, and like I just think that's.
Have you not seen Color Out of Space?
I haven't seen Color Out of Space.
You definitely should.
I wanted to. I wanted to go to that screening and I couldn't.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Is it
I
in
really
theaters
want
now?
to.
It's in theater. I mean, it got limited release like January 24th.
Say it should be hitting like on demand
think-
soonish, right? Maybe.
Oh.
I don't know,
Yeah.
but I definitely want to. Like, I'm not avoiding Color Out of Space, but the fact that Annihilation does that so well, and then I think also, I know people kind of made fun of the final act of Annihilation, which like whatever. The alien kind of does look like Pepsi Man. I'll give it that.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does.
Whatever.
Okay.
Yes, he does.
And, but like I think just the tension of like the dance fight scene, like that's another like really cool way.
Sorry, the what?
The dance fight.
The dance fight?
Yeah, they're dancing, but they're also like
I have
Natalie
never
Portman-
heard it called that because that just makes me think of Guardians of the Galaxy.
No, it made me think of Us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay,
exactly.
all right, okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It very much has that sort of Us vibe, but like that as a representation of like combating against this sort of like concept that you cannot understand. Like there's no middle ground. There's no like meeting of the minds here. Like this is like Natalie Portman cannot understand this other concept, and it's literally her that she's butting up against, and I think that's choice.
You've seen Event Horizon?
I have seen Event Horizon.
I was just
boy.
gonna bring that up. Ryan, you like Event Horizon?
I remember that being one of the first things, like it was etched into my brain,
Right.
as this is just so damn scary. Like visually, when you see Sam Neill's face, just all cut up.
Can't
and all,
unsee it.
You can't unsee it, and like it changed the way that
After you saw Jurassic Park
mid-90s?
too. After
Yeah,
watching
it was-
Jurassic
I think it
Park.
was 95.
In mid-90s. So it's like
97, I want to say.
yeah, we're young at this time, and watching that, you're like, wow, not knowing, coming face to face with hell and all these religious overtones of the design of all the ships, and it was just like, wow, it could get this scary.
I love that movie when it's doing the like quick flashes where it's just image after
They're
image after
so
image after
effective.
image.
Yeah.
So
It's
effective.
Look at the amount of detail in each of those shots that lasts like a frame and a half,
Right.
and it just goes through so many. Like I feel like we could spend a whole episode just like analyzing those.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Uh,
Just the places your mind goes, like, what's beyond that portal? Like, what's in there? It was so scary.
There's so
And
much
really
that
well
humans
done.
don't know, and just like that concept of that is like just frightening.
Yeah.
And it
That's
never
that
really-
gets
it
me
doesn't
way more than jump scares here and there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it
Like
never
those cheap
provides a
things.
good answer. Like there can't be an answer because the whole thing is that it's unknowable. And I think that
Right.
movie does it really well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and speaking of Event Horizon, it's kind of derivative of it, but Sunshine was a movie that I really loved.
Written by Alex Garland.
Exactly. Yeah, bringing it all back.
Yeah,
Bringing it
full circle.
Shout out to Alex Garland. But yeah,
I
Sunshine's
like
fantastic.
Sunshine. I feel like in the like final act of that movie, it kind of just like becomes a slasher.
A little
Where,
bit,
like,
yeah.
they're all kinda
It
just,
does.
like, running away
It
from
kind of
it.
does, yeah.
I mean, I love Sunshine too. I think that, just the score aside, like the fact that like Adagio and D minor, that song that has now been used is like every emotionally effective scene in any movie. It's like, oh, here's this song. I remember it shows up in like Kick-Ass or something. I was like, that's the song from Sunshine. Like, what?
The song from Sunshine.
Yeah, I was like, what? And it's like in like car commercials now. It's like, oh, okay. Like, I don't know. I just think that it's a bottle. Like, it's hard to do cosmic horror as like a bottle movie. Like The Thing does it kind of to like an effect, but like Sunshine also does it. Like where it's like you're trapped in a very confined space.
Well, Color Out of Space does it too because
Yeah.
they're trapped at the farm. So maybe that's actually the
Maybe
best
that's
way
maybe
to do
that's the
cosmic
key.
horror.
Yeah, like I think that's probably like I guess that is kind of like a running theme of every cosmic horror movie that I really like has been like
Confined
a very
space.
confined, like small scale story, which I think, man.
I tend to like small scale stories better anyway, which brings us back to Birds of Prey, because one of the best things about that movie is that it's like
contained.
It's like a street level, crime story. There's no sorceresses or beacons of light going up into space. There's no superhero landings.
Cosmic horror
it's a little more realistic, a little more closer to reality, less things to ruin, mess up.
Yeah,
and it's just not about like the concept of the world ending is boring, because it's not.
It's been done so many times. Yeah,
it doesn't seem realistic. That's such a nebulous, overarching thing to be afraid of, and that's one thing about cosmic horror is like it's almost never about the world ending. It's always like about.
I mean, Sunshine is about the world ending, but it's not about the world ending. It's about whether or not these people survive. Which is. Yeah, I think if you can thread the needle between both of those things, that's when like you get a really good cosmic horror story. Is the fact that like it needs to be about these characters that you really love and you really care about coming up against something that could potentially break all of reality.
Wise words.
Yeah.
Nice. So we know that movies can do horror. Let's talk about television. So it hasn't been as successful on TV, right? Like horror, they try. They're not. I feel like there are less. Like when we come up with like, oh, can we come up with like all these action movies? Yeah, can we come up with all of these comedies? Like, what's the best sitcom? That's hard. But like when I asked you guys, and I was like, what was the best horror TV show?
You stumped me.
Yeah, it was hard, right?
Yeah.
It was a hard one to answer.
I had one immediately.
No,
but
Meg did answer
Meg
immediately.
took mine though, so
Meg answered
I had to
immediately.
think of.
You can share an answer.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so
Sure.
I think the best horror TV show of all time is Hannibal.
It's so good.
And I think that there's no like competition there. Like it maintained an amazing balance of like horror and body horror, like just traditional horror and body horror. And
I can't believe the stuff that show got away, even at the time.
Oh my God.
Like,
on NBC.
Yeah.
It was on at like 10, but
bonkers.
still.
There's some truly horrifying things
horrific
in
stuff.
that show.
Yeah, the people like all sewn together to look like the eye in this giant silo,
God.
and the guy waking up and realizing that he's been like glued.
This is terrible because
like,
I'm going to cite something, but I don't remember where I read it.
Okay.
But it was about how they got around all the censorship on.
Oh yeah.
Not
That
censorship,
they just
but like
put blood over the.
You read this too?
Yeah, no, I was there.
What did they do?
Explain this.
Yeah.
Okay, so violence versus nudity versus sex on network TV is like always the balance has always seemed off, right? Like why are we allowed to see like all like people get shot in the head, but like you can't see like a boob or whatever,
Right.
And one of they were always butting up against the I don't want to say the word censors, but you know what I mean, like
like the network was not wanting like the TV ratings and whatnot, like they wanted to restrict what could be shown.
Right, and so I mean you may remember it better than I do.
So they kept running up because like a lot of dead bodies in Hannibal are naked, usually because they've been either dismembered or
their skin
partially
peeled or
eaten,
something.
or like there's a lot
Hannibal. Yeah,
exactly. Like there are very
Because
few clothed, mutilated bodies in Hannibal, and like Brian Fuller would relate this anecdote, and the reason I know it is because he did it at one of the Comic-Con panels. Like he told us the story that he.
Wait, when I brought this up, was I citing you?
Probably.
So this is a story I heard from Meg.
Yeah,
apparently.
probably. But he would relate the story that to get around the network being like, you can't show like butts on TV. Like you can't, like nude butts cannot be on NBC. He'd be like, okay, we'll just fill in the butt cracks with blood. And that
Amazing.
would the network would be like, okay,
that works.
Yeah, it works.
So a
allowed?
human body shown from the back.
Yeah, exactly.
With the skin of their back,
flayed into angel wings.
right. It's
fine.
not cool unless there's a waterfall of blood, covering
Censoring the butt.
How is that okay?
That's crazy.
That's how NBC worked it.
That's the world we live in.
And it was
Wild.
fine. And that's 100% true, directly from him.
And that show's incredible. So.
Yeah. So good. God. Yeah, no, there's no bad episode of Hannibal. I want
Mads
more
Mikkelsen.
of it. I know.
So
So
good.
good. But like there's no.
I have trouble seeing him in any other role.
Yeah,
true.
it's really tough. But like there's like I'm really sad that it got canceled, and I would love it if it came back, but at the same time it's like I think it ended in such a way too that it had a perfect ending for what it was and like what it needed to be. It's just going to be like this perfect little text that is going to, be my like benchmark for horror TV forever.
Are you sold, Ryan?
I have yet to watch this.
You've never seen it?
You told me the other day about this. You and Phil were telling me how great it was. One of the best TV series ever.
It has some of the best body horror.
I'm gonna immediately I'm gonna watch this one.
I love body horror.
It's so
it gets to me.
It's so good and it's so stylish and like if you like Alex Garland stuff, if you like the big kind of like aesthetic pieces, that's 100% what Hannibal is. It's just this beautiful, gorgeous, horrifying aesthetic masterpiece.
Awesome.
Ryan, what would you like to recommend?
Yeah.
I cheated a little bit here, guys.
Because you have to say American Horror Story?
Because I have to say American. I'm contractually obligated. Yeah.
Obligated.
I have to say American Horror Story. Hi.
As the host
I'm
of
on
American Horror Story
videos. I have to say it. No, let's be honest. American Horror Story. It's it's cheesy.
It's peaks and valleys, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's peaks and valleys.
That first season was still one of the best. First 2 seasons were
Murder
probably the
House.
best.
I love Asylum.
Solid.
Asylum
Sounds
is
good.
one of my favorites, and Murder House.
Murder House is great.
Yeah.
It's different than Hannibal, obviously. I can.
Yeah, sure.
I realize this. I like some of the horror elements of like Black Mirror, like more realistic,
Sure.
technological, like it could happen next week type of things, as opposed to like sitting through a horror TV show.
So we'd obviously have to nod to Twilight Zone too.
Yes,
But,
of course.
But yeah, Black Mirror does that really well, and it scared the crap out of me several times.
like watching like the entire history of You episode, White Bear, and even some of like the happier one, like the more positive ones. Sorry, Mike. Like San Junipero, like some of the.
Why are you apologizing?
Sometimes you like some
Because I don't like happiness.
Oh, hope. You don't like hope.
Yeah.
A lot of hope in San
Well, San Junipero is terrifying.
It is terrifying. I mean,
Right?
it's all terrifying. That's what I'm
It's
saying.
all terrifying.
I have to stop watching Black Mirror sometimes. Like I can watch some messed up stuff, but sometimes I need to turn that show off because it feels too real.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's anxiety inducing sometimes.
I agree.
It's very good though.
Yeah, I thought it's hit. Some of them aren't as strong as the other ones, but
Do you have a favorite? Is it Entire History of You?
I think it's messed up.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed it. I thought it was really well. It's pretty messed up. But that's really good. And I want to shout out True Blood.
Yes.
There's some horror elements there. And it was more like comedic as well. Like
It was fun though.
it was fun.
That was a good time, and it had some really solid seasons. Then it just really turned into a mess.
It did.
True Blood gave us Evan Rachel Wood and Skarsgård though.
Sure did.
That is
Hell yeah.
true.
So
Sure did.
We owe it just for that.
Yes.
As
Yeah.
Westworld fans.
And a real banger of a theme song.
Oh yeah.
That
Oh
intro.
yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
That intro is so good.
I wish all of True Blood had been what the intro was.
Right.
Yes.
I was just
Yeah.
like, oh, where is this? Because like that's the first thing you see, right?
Yeah.
When you
Yeah.
first start watching the show, I'm like, ooh, this is intriguing. None of that imagery is in this show.
No.
None of it. It's all banging and graves and stuff. It's good though. But
I
it
have
was
heard
fun.
good-
Did
I
you say
have heard
banging and graves or
banging in graves.
Banging in
Banging
graves.
in graves.
Just
Yeah.
making sure.
On brand for True Blood. I really want to dive into Dark on Netflix.
Yeah.
I
the
started
German,
it.
The German
yeah,
one.
yeah.
I've watched season 1. It's good.
I heard
Time travel
it's
horror.
solid.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
It's super up my alley.
I like it. I haven't seen season 2 though.
Right.
Same. I didn't finish it. Yeah.
It's one of those like you have to pay attention. Like I don't speak any German, so like I have to be looking at the screen the whole time when I'm watching it, which
Right.
like is a little inconvenient if you're like us and usually are watching things and
Right.
working and
Yeah,
having
because we're looking for clues too. We're
Right,
like, oh, that's a
exactly.
clue to this. That's a clue to this. This is how this is connected.
Yeah.
It's a little harder
Right.
when there's
Yeah.
a language barrier.
Which
but
like
it's good.
there's another horror show on Netflix that I really like that I'm having the same problem with called Marianne or Marianne, which is a French horror. He always makes fun of me because I pronounce it the French way.
I didn't say anything.
I know, but you're
You're
giving
smiling.
miles. But it's a
Your
French.
smile says everything.
It's a French horror show, and it's very good and very disgusting. Like it's like super body horror, like
love body horror.
disgusting. It's really gross, but it's about a woman who like wrote a series of novels about a witch and then ended the story, and then the witch from the novels like turned out to be like a real thing, and her writing the stories were like the only thing
So
keeping
it's
this like
Will Ferrell's Stranger Than Fiction, but French and horror on
yes,
Netflix.
yeah,
Oh, wow.
Oh, okay.
basically.
Okay.
Sounds really good.
It's-
Will Ferrell was
It's
very
wild.
good in Stranger
I
Things.
love that.
Yeah,
It's
really good.
disgusting. It's
Cool.
super gross. It's super tense, but it's also it's French. Like you have to be, unless you speak French, like you have to be watching the
I
whole
had no
time.
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, speaking of Netflix shows, I liked Haunting of Hill House a lot. I thought that was
Yeah.
fantastic.
I'm surprised it took this long for that to come up.
Yeah, it's great. No, that was one I had on my list, and from start to finish, a really solid season of television right there.
Sobbing my eyes out at the ending of that show. Like, oh my God. And that like Gregory Allen Iskov, like stinger or the needle drop was like just felt so unfair. I was just like, I'm already crying and you're gonna drop that? Okay, fine.
I thought Haunting of Hill House was great, and like it was one of those shows that was so fun to go back and try to find like all the hidden ghosts. Like that was my favorite
good.
thing. And then one of the executive producers of that show was Meredith Averill, who then went on to work on Lock and Key, which if we're talking about horror TV shows, we should bring up because that's one of.
But they took out the horror.
Exactly. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
that's a show that should have been horror, and
It's not horror.
Instead they focused on the high school and the fantasy elements. But you know,
What could have been.
what could have been exactly.
What could have been. But I also.
Speaking of horror, the final season of Game of Thrones. How scary
Why
was that?
would you
Why
do
would
this
you
to
do
me?
this to him?
Why?
would you do this to him?
Dude, it was horrible, right?
I know. I keep eyeing the Dracarys cup. That's why I'm chugging this.
I mean, that was a traumatizing
my
season of
goodness.
television.
the worst. I think Stranger Things has some horror.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to talk
Season
about.
1 is a lot of horror.
Yeah, season 1 is.
It's hard to talk about horror TV because most things that are kind of horror on TV
There are also
like-
other genres.
Yeah, they're also something else because horror is all about, you know, the buildup of tension and then the release of tension when things go balls out. Like, you
Right.
know, a horror movie almost always like turns into action eventually, but it's about an hour and a half of buildup before that happens. Try to stretch that out across 10-hour-long episodes of TV, and it doesn't work that well.
Right.
Right.
I think
And that's
Channel-
probably why we couldn't find a lot of really good
Right.
horror TV shows. It's hard to make it last that
Yeah,
long.
this question really stumped me. Like I thought of Stranger Things, but that's not really horror. That's more adventure in the sense of like Spielberg, you know, stuff of the 80s.
But it has horror elements.
Yeah, I thought of Channel Zero, which I think I want to say is my favorite horror TV show.
Absolutely, yeah.
But I never watched the third or the fourth.
But I mean, it's an anthology series, right? It's like you don't have to watch all of it. You can talk about seasons of Channel Zero as isolated entities.
Yeah, and I thought like the first two seasons of it's an anthology show and they're based on different like creepypasta you know, internet meme stories, which sounds like a gimmick, but they did such an incredible job of they, you know, they didn't stretch it out. It's not 13 episodes. It's like what, 6 episodes per series. And you know, I hope to catch up on that.
I think, yeah, the first 2 seasons of Channel Zero are definitely the strongest. The second 2 were okay. They were good. But I really appreciated Channel Zero just like in the spirit of trying horror things that were consistently horror and were like not done anywhere else. Like you can usually kind of correlate horror TV shows like, oh, it's like this, or oh, it's like that, or oh, it kind of like dovetails into this other thing. Channel Zero was just weird.
No End House, dude, when oh my God.
I saw that one. I watched that one, yeah.
Yeah.
When the body comes up out of the floor,
Yeah.
and he breaks the arm off and starts sucking these like boba berries
And
out
then,
of it.
it's like it's a pomegranate because it's supposed to be
Oh
like
my God, dude! Like,
it's
that
supposed
would
to be
go-
like Hades and Persephone. Like it's the thing that's keeping him in hell is this pomegranate.
I don't know what you're saying right now.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is
what language are you
that,
speaking?
that messed me up.
It's gross.
Yeah, that was gross. That was nasty.
the turn in No End House when because like there's like the first turn where it's like you realize the dad is gonna try to, you know, suck all of her memories out,
Yeah.
and then there's the second turn where he tries to like save them all,
oh my God,
which was
dude.
so good.
Oh my gosh.
It's such a good show. It's such a weird, good, interesting show. And it's also, I really appreciate No End House for doing, I guess a lot of the Channel Zero stuff did a lot of very like overt daylight horror. Like there's very few
Right, yeah.
like dark scenes in any of the Channel Zero shows.
like
it's-
Midsummer, but it was like 2 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. Like
Everybody
it's,
talked about that with Midsummer.
yeah, it's very much like everything is just out in broad daylight. With No End House, it's specifically stark because it's in like a suburban neighborhood where it's like very quaint and cute. And a lot of the horror comes from the fact that it's like you realize that like the people on the bikes are on a loop and they just cross the same part and they do the exact same thing every single day. And
It's
it's,
a lot like that Tom Hanks movie, The Burbs, actually.
yeah, God.
Deep cut.
Ryan.
I didn't think that was going to come up right now. That was not prepared for
Not
that.
expecting
Yeah,
that.
not
to
Does
expecting
come.
What We Do in the Shadows count as horror TV?
Sure.
Sure.
horror
It's got
comedy.
horror elements.
Yeah.
It's horror comedy, right?
If it has
Yeah.
vampires in it, is it automatically horror?
Kind of. It's in the genre, but yeah, it's like part horror.
Yeah.
It's
Or
not
Satire,
dedicated horror. Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are horror comedies, there are horror dramas. But yeah, speaking of things that are not just strictly horror, but is also a multitude of other things. Twin Peaks is, I want to name Twin Peaks because I just love that show. I feel bad talking about it without Greg here, but Twin Peaks is near and dear to my heart. And yeah, there are scenes in that scared the crap out of me.
That's true.
There are scenes, like, I maintain that the only movie that has ever scared me enough to have to, like, turn it off and, like, stop watching and, like, turn it back on during the day is Mulholland Drive.
Yeah.
Mulholland Drive scared the pants off of me.
I love that movie.
It is the scene in the diner. Like, it's right at the beginning. Like, I didn't get through, like, the first, like, 20 minutes of Mulholland Drive the first time I tried to watch it because it scared me so badly. I'm just like, why is this scary?
Thanks, David Lynch.
No.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
no. Twin Peaks I would definitely call Twin Peaks a horror show.
Did you guys watch the monkey thing on Netflix?
No, I
I
haven't.
have not
not.
watched it yet.
Yeah.
No.
Really?
I have not
Yeah,
watched
have
it.
you?
I'm definitely the least Lynch fan here. And I watched that whole
haven't.
thing. It's like 15 minutes long.
I was gonna say,
Ryan
it's not
Schubert
long.
watched it.
It's incredible. Can we
Thank
just like go watch it right now?
We can watch it right
Let's
now and then
go.
react to it.
Yeah.
We'll do all of that.
I heard the first 5 minutes is hard to get past, but if you make it past the first 5, you're good.
That's fair, but yeah, who can't make it past 5 minutes? Even she made it 20 minutes into Mulholland Drive.
Yeah, that's true.
Point.
Oh.
All right.
so
Well, thank you
scary.
guys so much. Let's put a pin in this episode. So let's go around and tell them what you're working on and where to follow you. Mike?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Well, you can follow me on Twitter at Rogue Cheddar.
Yeah. And you guys are going to be breaking down devs, right?
Yeah.
Is that
think
something you
so,
plan to
yeah.
do?
Speaking of Alex Garland, we're just gonna keep this the Alex Garland Appreciation Hour, starring Meg Downey. Yeah, no, we're gonna talk about devs.
Yeah, we're going to be talking. We're watching some stuff that we probably can't talk about yet. 'Cause
Yeah,
it's not
That's fine.
out yet. But yeah, we're gonna be talking a lot about devs on, which is an FX show that's airing on Hulu
In March.
soon.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
March.
Yeah.
But by the time this episode goes up, it might be
Yeah.
starting already.
Cool.
Yeah.
Perfect. You can find me on Twitter as well. I'm Rusty Polished. I will be spearheading a lot of dev stuff, and I think we're also going to be, whenever Westworld stuff is happening, that'll be kind of under our
GameSpot.com.
umbrella. Yeah, Westworld season 3.
Yep.
You can find me on Twitter at RyanEricP, and I will be working on some more American Horror Story.
Yeah, you are.
I just go back and rewatch every single episode of every single season.
Really?
No,
Yeah.
We're doing Freak Show
Chastity's
right now. Yeah.
forced me to do it.
Yes. I was like, I need
He's
views.
chained to his desk.
You're not leaving. Watch another
It's like
episode.
a Clockwork Orange
No, we're
situation.
currently, Greg and I are going back to the 4th season of American Horror Story, doing some Freak Show.
Freak Show is where I stopped watching that show.
Well, there it is.
Well, now
Well,
you
I'll be
can go to-
rewatching it.
Yeah. Now you can go to Ryan for
Maybe
all
I'll
your
come
Freak
along
Show
on this
needs.
journey.
Yeah.
And I'm at Chastity_V on both Twitter and Instagram. And if you want to email us with any questions or comments about this show, reach out to us on email at ysbw@gamespot.com. That's ysbw@gamespot.com. And thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.